Hey guys, Miss Marfleck here. We're going to do some more log property problems. Now they're going to be a little harder because they're multi-step. We're doing the problems from practice 8-4, and we're just going to pick out some problems at random, starting here, 8-4, number 13. I'll rewrite the problems for us so you don't have to take out your log packet, and here is the first one. All right, so we have a few things going on here. We have logs with addition, logs with subtraction. Now, normally we worked left to right. So first I'm going to combine those first two logs on the left using that product property. So I go from addition with 2 logs to multiplication with 1 log. And you can see I put in parentheses there, the 4 and the 2. That's my product property. And I combine those, simplifying in the next step to be an 8. And then now I have a subtraction with 2 logs, so I'm going to go to division with 1 log. And we're going to see here that 8 over 8 is 1. Now, even though this is fully condensed like our directions ask, we do know how to evaluate this. So over in red here, we're going to go into exponential form, and we're asking ourselves 2 to what power is 1, and that answer would be 0. So here's an example of a multi-step problem. In this problem, we used product rule, we used quotient rule, and then we evaluated. Now you could have evaluated straight from the beginning, and you would have gotten the same answer. So if you did, 2 to the second power is 4, that first log is 2, 2 to the first power, is 1, and so on. If you evaluated, at the end, you still would get x equals 0. All right, now we're going to pick out another problem from practice 8-4 at random here. We're going to take a look at number 17. All right, so 17, starting off with that 2 in front, that's being multiplied with my log base x. And then I'm subtracting my 3 in front, that's being multiplied by log base y. So I'm looking at those big numbers in front, and my goal here is to condense like my directions are asking. So I'm going to condense first using the power property. So I'm bringing that 2 to the now from the front to be on top of the variable. I'm bringing the 3 from the front to be on top of the variable as an exponent. And then now when I combine with power property, I have the minus, so I go ahead and I use my quotient property. So I go from the subtraction with 2 logs to the division with 1 log. If I'm going too fast, that's okay. Pause the video, go back and take a look at that example. But we're moving on here, and we'll take a look at the next one, which is going to be 21. All right, directions are still the same here. We're still condensing, and just like the last example, we are going to start off using power property. I can kind of already see that with that 1/3 in front and the 2/3 in front. Now this is our common log, so we don't have to worry about writing a base, and I'm highlighting those powers that are in front. So now we're going to rewrite that 1/3 to be a power, and I'm going to write that 2/3 to be a power. But here, the 1/3 and the 2/3 is not just a power of x, but it's also a power of 3. So we really have to make sure we have that in parentheses. All right, so now with that red parentheses there, that 1/3 is a power on the 3, and it is a power on the x. Now you can, go straight and use the the product property here to combine, but I'm just going to kind of illustrate that distribution of the 1/3. There's our exponent properties. So now we have 3 to the 1/3, x to the 1/3, 3 to the 2/3, and x to the 2/3. So we're distributing that power, and we're also using our product property here. And then now, multiplication with exponents, we add the exponents. So 1/3 plus 2/3 is 3 to the first, and 1/3 plus 2/3 is x to the first power. All right, so that had actually more exponent properties in that problem than we had log properties. All right, now we're going to take a look here at number 30. We have something interesting. We have a parentheses. So we have 3 parentheses and then 4 log base 10 t squared. The first thing we're going to do is get rid of that parentheses by distributing the 3. Now the 4 log t squared is 1 term, so the 3 just gets distributed to that 4 in front, and then we have a 12. And then now that 12 in front is going to combine with the exponent, and we're going to use that power property to condense. So we're going to have t squared to the 12th power, and there's those exponent properties. Power raised to power, we don't add, we multiply. So that's why I have that 2 multiplied by 12 is 24. All right, now we're going to take a look here at 33. The directions are changing now. We're no longer condensing, we are expanding. So that's something that's in the packet. It says expand, and here we are. The first thing I see is that division sign. So I'm going to get rid of that division sign and go from division with 1 log to subtraction with 2 logs. And then now I see that y and that z is being multiplied. So I want to pull those apart and expand some more using that product property where I'm going to throw in that addition sign. All right, but I do have to be very careful here because the y and the z were grouped together in the denominator, so when we expand, we have to group them together. And then you can kind of check your work, because if you mentally take this kind of last step and go to condense to what we started with, if we condense left to right, we'd have a problem. The z would be up in the numerator. But now with those parentheses, I would do my order of operations parentheses first, and then it'd be grouped there in the denominator. All right, so the key there is to have those parentheses at the end with the grouping. 36, ooh, this looks like a hard one. This is probably, you know, as tough as these log properties will get. We have a lot of terms. I shouldn't say terms. We have a lot of variables here, and the first thing we're going to do is get rid of that radical, and we're going to go from radical form to exponent form. And keep in mind that that's power over root. So square root is to the 1/2 power. And then now we have a power, we want to get rid of that and continue expanding, so we're going to move that to the front using that power property. All right, but then now when we start expanding this 2RST divided by 5W, we got to keep in mind that all of those variables were to the 1/2 power. So as we start expanding more here using the quotient property, the 1/2 goes to the numerator, but also that denominator was raised to the 1/2 power. So we have that 1/2 in front of that log 5W. And then now this minus sign is going to be really important. It's going to kind of separate these into 2 problems. We have the first underlined in red that we're going to expand with the product property, and then the second half we're going to underline in red, we're going to expand with the product property. Now at the end, we're going to have to keep everything in the denominator in parentheses, but the numerator, all right, which I'm already expanding here, if we work left to right to condense, we wouldn't need parentheses. All right, so just keeping in mind that every variable that's expanded here with the product property is to the 1/2 power. So we have the 1/2 in front of the log 2, in front of the log r, the log s, and the log t. And then now we have that minus sign, and I'm going to expand that 5w using the product property, and the 1/2 is in front of the log 5 and the log w. But wait a second, that was grouped together in the denominator, so I'm going to have to go ahead and throw in parentheses there. Now, if you'd like, you can put parentheses with the numerator. You don't need it, though, if you work left to right when condensing. Or you can actually distribute that negative sign, so you don't need parentheses on that last part, but we're going to leave the parentheses there. All right, almost done here. We're going to just take a look at a few more examples, because each example is kind of different using these properties. So we're taking a look here at 40. The first thing I see is that whole 3x, y, z being raised to the second power. So we're going to put that in front, and then we're going to expand using the product property. And now each one of these, the 3, the x, the y, and the z are all raised to the second power, so the 2 all goes in front. Now there is another way to do this problem. You could have distributed the 2 first, and then use the product property, and then last use the power property. A lot of different ways to do these here. All right, and then now we're going to take a look at number 45. Now the directions are a little different. We're no longer asked to condense or to expand, but instead we're given, what these are equal to. Maybe it's already condensed, maybe it's already expand, and all I'm asking for is what property we're using. So if I'm going to start with the left-hand side, I can see that I can bring that 2/3 to the front to be an exponent. I drew that 2/3 a little too big, but that's an exponent. And we do power over root, and we can see we're going to get the right-hand side. But I don't care about any of that, okay? So I'm going to erase this. I don't care about any of that. I'm not interested in condensing or expanding. I'm just interested in looking at how did I go from the left side to the right side, and I would go from the left side to the right side by using the power property. So maybe you'll see a question like that on your quiz, just asking what application of the property you're using, and then I'm just going to remind us down here what that power property looks like. All right, make sure you're doing your homework and email me if you have